This is Inside LAFC podcast. Glad you could join us for our very special U.S. Open Cup preview show. I am Mex Bretos. There is Steve Beitashour. Steve Beitashour has won trophies, but you haven't won a U.S. Open Cup. But if it all falls in place Wednesday, you being the co-host of this show can take a little piece of that trophy with you.
Can I take a picture with it afterwards? Is that okay? Can I kind of be part of it? I'll celebrate with you guys if you win.
We'll do some AI stuff, and I'll superimpose you there, and you can have it. But we can't talk about lifting the trophy. We've got to first talk about getting there, and we will have an extensive preview. We'll talk about the importance of this competition. We'll talk about the importance of winning trophies. And we'll also be joined by LAFC assistant coach Ante Rozov, who has played in multiple U.S. Open Cups and won them. And we'll get his perspective about why it's such a big deal. Everyone is hyped up. It is a big final. There's no time for fanfare. There's no week building up to this game or 2 weeks or what have you. It's, it comes at a very interesting spot. We're here in September. The season will go on to late October, November, possibly December, but here we are. So it kind of hits you in the face really quickly, but you got to be ready for it, Beta.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. We've been talking about it. Okay, they have to handle business. They handle business. They're here. They're hosting against a Kansas City team who's going to treat it like an MLS Cup final because let's be honest, they're struggling in the regular season. They're practically out, not mathematically eliminated, but they're far enough down the standings where this is the main trophy for them. We talk about it all the time, right? Get one trophy, and this is their chance for one. So now, but this is also for LAFC. Hey, this is also your chance for one. So it's going to be a good, competitive, just two teams fighting for it. And I think 3252 is going to show up like they always do, and they're going to be rowdy as ever to get that Open Cup because it's a trophy they don't have yet. They want it.
I believe it's pretty close to being full, but check LAFC.com for tickets so that you can be part of this very special night. We have had so many incredible moments, so many finals. We have been spoiled as this club because we continue to look forward to these big nights. There are 29 teams in MLS and not many, if maybe just a handful, Columbus. And just in the last few years, or Seattle or Toronto, when you won an MLS Cup, or winning a U.S. Open Cup can say that they have been in the middle of this. LAFC get to say it over and over again, and that's an amazing achievement. But it is, I'm going to make it official. It's U.S. Open Cup week. Hit that. Let's rock and roll. We'll get into this. It's coming off a very busy week for everyone. So everyone had a 3-game week. LAFC went to Dallas. They rotated their squad. Sporting Kansas City were at home to Minnesota United. They rotated a little less. They lost that game, even though they were dominant on the statistical categories. LAFC, it was a bigger rotation, and it was pretty flat. Look, it hasn't been a good run in, and people are getting nervous because LAFC have not performed. I will tell you that this happens in 2022. It happened in 2023, and LAFC in those years had to incorporate new players, which they're doing again here. Marlon, the Brazilian, is there, and Carlos Vela and Luis O'Brien's a new player, many of these guys. So it's something we've seen before, but now they got to take care of business for this competition. And it's a very special tournament because it started in 1914. We don't have this kind of history, right? Everything's new. This league's 30 years old. This is 110, 111 years old.
Yeah, it's the oldest competition in U.S. soccer. A lot of pride, right? And MLS got a little flack earlier this year for, saying every team didn't have to be part of it. Some MLS teams left, some stayed in it. And I was a huge fan of all the teams that stayed in it because, for me, again, I've talked about this. You mentioned first thing, I haven't won this one, and it's one that I really wanted. I've been fortunate where I've won other trophies. This was the one that I always got so close. It's always like the semifinals. Every year I felt like I was in the semifinals. 2018, we lost in penalties to Houston at Houston. And it's a tough one. It's another form like MLS Cup, right? You're in this playoff format. And now LAFC is in the finals. They're this close. And why do I feel like every 4 or 5 shows we talk, it's like, all right, LAFC, we're in another final. It's amazing. It's amazing, right? And
this is different, right? This doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. No, it's not normal to be in this many finals. But it shows you, right, the class, the quality that they have, the depth, right? Because you need a lot of rotation when you're playing this many games. So they're standing on business. They're doing well. It's impressive. And not only that, the regular season standings, they're flying as well. So they're in a good position. But I hope they come out with the same energy that you're going to see Kansas City come out, because Kansas City is coming out like it's an MLS Cup final. So I hope LAFC treats it the same way.
I was at the training, the Performance Center on Monday, and this is a competition that everyone's involved, from MLS to USL to the amateur leagues. I remember there was like a convenience store that had a team, and they won a couple games. They made the third round, just completely amateur. And Aaron Long, someone asked him, and he said there was like an amateur team that a lot of his friends were on, and they made like a 2 or 3 game run. So everyone can kind of relate and see the magic of this. And the MLS teams have been dominant, but to your point, I think there was only 7 this year. I don't know anything about anything, but just common sense says that if MLS is going to, how are they going to look into the Open Cup moving forward? Is it going to be everyone? Maybe. Or maybe they reconfigure this tournament. Maybe they reconfigure the Leagues Cup. Things are going to change. And we don't know if, and John Thorrington said it, we don't know if LAFC is going to be in this. They might be, but they may not be. So this is your chance.
Yeah.
To win it. And so, I mean, it's just really, it's, I don't want not to mount more pressure, but this is a moment. They got there. They've earned the spot to get there. And it'd be nice to put your name on that list. I wanted to mention Maccabi Los Angeles has won it 5 times. This was way back in the 60s and 70s. I believe soap opera star of The Young and Restless, Eric Braeden, who I've been able to befriend since, won a couple of the trophies there. So, you get to be on there. Sporting's won 4. They want to win a 5th and make history. So all this is kind of big. And the Galaxy have won twice. So you win 1, you do the math. It's a special to be on that list.
It is. It is special. And it has that European feel to it because every division is in it, right? You have USL, you have second division, you have third division, you have just, random teams. What was the team in like Iowa or something Sasha Klesson played for? And he put in a shift 90 minutes and they won. It's just, it's something magical about it. Everyone has a chance. There's a belief that why not you? But you know what? Now the big boys are in MLS teams, Kansas City, LAFC, and now you got to see who's going to be the champion. So yeah, man, you got to write your name on history.
Look, it's a trophy. It's a thing, right? It's a trophy. You don't get to hold it. You get to lift it, but you get to create memories. But we see how John Thorrington, Steve Cherundolo, and the players say, we want to win trophies. You are a player. When you got into this, what did you say you wanted to do?
Oh, yeah. Got to win trophies. Got to win trophies.
Why is that so? I mean, I know why it's important, but I want to hear from you. Like, you got into being a soccer player. You came in to be a professional. You came in to make a nice living. But it was to be successful and win trophies. Why is that such a through line?
Yeah, look, as athletes, we are all competitive. All we want to do is win, regardless if it's regular season or now you're in the playoffs or for a cup competition. What did I have? I think 7 trophies at the end of the day throughout my career.
Yeah. Supporter Shield, MLS Cup, Canadian.
Supporter Shield, 3 Canadian Cups, MLS Cup, and then if you count Eastern Conference championships as well, some trophies, right? Like, so then you're talking 9. Pretty good out of 14 years. I think that's what people hold your standard to as far as being successful. Like, oh yeah, you were a winner. There's guys that, they have individual great careers, but when you don't win anything as a team, this is a team game. This is not golf. This is not tennis. This is a team game. You want to win trophies as a team, whether you get to take it home or not. You're still taking a picture with that thing. In my office, you see some pictures in the background. Behind the screen, you have, other trophies, and I'm holding them up, and you see the Supporter Shield, you see MLS Cup, and that's what we as players, we just thrive for. That's what we want. That's our goal. And so right now, LAFC is in another amazing position and opportunity to host another trophy.
And you remember those things moments frequently. You see a photo, go, I won that. And on the flip side, those players that haven't won, that they probably think that's not your problem, Beta. You won your trophies. You won the big one in MLS Cup. these players that haven't, they've got to think about that. They got to reflect and say, I didn't lift that trophy. I won. You think about not being close to the Open Cup and not getting that, right?
It still bugs me. It was like literally the first thing that you said during this introduction was you haven't won that, and it still bugs me. Like, man, it's the one I didn't get.
Sorry.
No, but it's true. But think about for all players, like when you hear that, everyone. Let's talk about NFL. What's his name? Dan Marino, one of the greatest quarterbacks back in the days for the Dolphins, but doesn't win a Super Bowl, and everyone still brings it up. And it bothers him. Yeah,
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley for the NBA. He has that word. Unbelievable individual player. But people will always bring that up if you don't have the trophies. So you got to win them. And so, like, even for me, where I've won all the other trophies, for me, I still like, man, I really, really wish I could have had Open Cup. I would have traded one of the other ones. I wish I had Open Cup. Yeah. So
Listen, I'm always amazed because, the Open Cup, maybe it's been diminished because of what's happened. But when you talk to the players, they carry it at a very high level. And it always makes me feel good because I think they realize the history and they realize what's happened before them and why they would like to be on that list of people and players and teams to have made it. Open Cup memories. I mean, you've had many. You've been in. We remember obviously the Dynamo one, and that one obviously was a close call, semifinal, and the Dynamo would move forward, and that was in penalties. So who knows how that turned out? What stick out for you from the Open Cup and the ones that you were able to participate, regardless of what team you played on?
I think that one was probably the one that hurts me the most. 2018 with LAFC, going into penalties, and last kick, Laurent Simon, if he makes it, we win. I don't know. Penalties, it's tough, man. You don't know what he was thinking to put it in a corner. I thought he was going to go up there and smack it like he did that year with a bunch of free kicks. And he tried to place it, and Willis, just kind of puts his hand down and saves it. And so for me, I felt like if we won that one, we're going home playing Philadelphia, who that year was not good at all. We were going to win it all. So that was the year. And that's the one that I always think back. But, earlier days when I was younger, there were some fun games. I won't forget the one with the San Jose Earthquakes. We were playing the Sounders. And after the game, we got into huge brawl with them, like red cards, punches, fights. And, that just shows you that the guys care. They want to win. It's not just some regular game. People are, out there playing for their lives, right? This is what we do for a living. This is what we care about. We want to win trophies. And so I think that game was also either quarters or semifinals. So I think that's why everyone was so upset when we lost. Sounders ended up winning. And it's a fun tournament. I like it. It's another taste to the MLS Cup playoffs. It's almost like a little appetizer. Here, get ready. And then now you have the MLS Cup playoffs. Yeah.
If you get to the final, I mean, it can be forgiving sometimes. It's not like a huge, I'm not going to short end it, but it's easier to get to a Open Cup final than it is to an MLS Cup. But I can't really say that because this is LAFC's first Open Cup final. And in that semifinal, hat trick from Diego Rossi, amazing game from him. And Houston went on to the final and smashed Philadelphia. So you figure that would be what LAFC could have had. So I'm sure you think about that. But I'm bringing back all these memories, and then you throw Laurent Simon under the bus. I mean, it's all rushing back.
I give him a compliment. He scored a lot of goals that year.
So here we are, and let's preview this game here. The game plan for Sporting Kansas City, what it's going to look like. Experience helps, and LAFC have Ilie Sanchez, who won an Open Cup with Sporting Kansas City in 2017. So he knows Peter Vermes. He knows some of the players. I think that will help in the preparation. Kai Kamara, he won with Sporting Kansas City in 2012. I believe Vermes was still there. I mean, he's been there forever.
Yeah, he was.
So, there's some intel. 2012 was forever ago. Mm-hmm. Aaron Long made an MLS, a Open Cup final. And again, hearing him talk about it, he really wants to get his hands on this one as an American kid growing up. Yeah. And even Lewis O'Brien, they were talking to him, and the comparison to the FA Cup. And when you talk of the FA Cup to an English kid, they're like, oh, this is holy ground. Yeah. This is what every kid growing up wants to do. And I know it's not apples to apples, but there's something in comparison. So this is the game. Sporting Kansas City, I've called them a few times. As you said, they're struggling. They're going to treat this like their Super Bowl, as you pointed out. A little slow in the back. And I think there's ways also that you've got to handle the fact that as much as you want it, you have in the back of your mind, we have Cincinnati on Saturday. We've got to win games to try and get into an MLS Cup. It has to be there. Sporting, they're not going to make the playoffs. So that has to be an edge, right?
It is an edge. It is an edge. I've experienced it on both ends. Kansas City has one thing on their mind. That's it. They don't care what's after. They don't care how many days rest. It's we have to win Open Cup. And I'm hoping LAFC has that same mindset. But at the same time, to your point, they have a tough matchup coming up against a very good Cincinnati team, one of the best teams, not only in the East, but in the entire league. So I just hope that and fans are going to hate to hear this. I hope they just watch that game and say, we're going to rotate that game and we're going to put all our eggs in this basket right now against Kansas City. But again, I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to rotate. Are they going to limit some minutes? Are they going to, cap some guys at 60 and then get them off so that they can be somewhat fresh? That's up to the coaches. That's what they get paid the big bucks for. You and I just got to talk about it. So we shall see.
LAFC will be well rested. I mean, a lot of their key players, Ilie Sanchez, Denny Bouanga, Matty Bogers coming off the bench, Olivier Giroud, who it will be interesting to see how he participates. And to your point, I think LAFC is locked into this game. They are. But I'm not saying it's going to pop up, but, the Cincinnati game, then they have 2 home games. They have a trip to Vancouver, which is on the international date. That's a makeup game. So they're going to be missing 6 players. So to go to Vancouver and think you're going to win, it's
tough, good team and a tough place to play.
So you don't want to look at the schedule, but you're like, where do we get the points to reach the target we want to reach? They have 2 home games. They got to win those. It's St. Louis and
Jose at home. Yeah,
that's right. So it doesn't mean they're going to win them, but you still want to do well on the road. But as for this game, you've got to put the blinders on and you got to go for it. I like what I saw in the last few minutes against Dallas. You see Denny Bouanga's full of steam. Kike Oliveira's trained a little bit. Someone asked Steve Cherundolo in the press conference, do you think he's going to feature? He goes, he could be available. So they're through that. I love the idea of throwing speed at Sporting and see if you can ruffle them up and stretch that back line. I think that's something LAFC, certainly off a counterattack, but Sporting is going to be leery of the counterattack as well. So I'm curious how they do it. All I know is this is a great game to take a lead and see where it goes. So hopefully we see some good trends for LAFC in the first 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I hope LAFC gets an early lead because I have a feeling Kansas City is going to come in with that low block, be compact because of that speed that you're talking about both ways, right? The lack of for Kansas City and LAFC is just pure speed in their front 3. So I think they're going to do that low block. But if LAFC can score early, now you're going to put the pressure on Kansas City. Now you got to open up. You got to come out and try to get a goal back, and then it'll be fun. But typically, finals aren't a lot of fun because everyone's a little timid. Everyone's a little reserved. Don't push too many numbers forward. Let's just stay compact. Don't give up easy goals. So we'll see. Usually how it goes, but it's LAFC at home. It's always exciting.
Aaron Long was rested, and I think he's going to be huge because he has been the best defender. Jesus Murillo was there. He is on the way back. Hopefully we see him at some point by the end of the season. But Aaron Long back, Hugo Lloris back. Thomas Hasal got to play. He was all right. I mean, he got unlucky on a couple of these goals. One was deflected. You want your number 1, and Hugo Lloris wasn't even involved. I don't think he traveled for that game, so he'll be ready. And these are nice things to have up your sleeve, right? A guy like Aaron Long, a guy like Hugo Lloris. So when you start listing at it, I feel a lot more confident that this team is going to be well equipped, and that you kind of had to sacrifice the Dallas game. They said they want to focus, they want to prioritize it. They did it, and now it's here. I like the fact that these guys will have some wind in their sails.
That was a little bit of an indicator as well. When you saw those guys resting, like, oh, okay, you know what? They are taking the Open Cup final very seriously, which I really, really like to see. And so now those guys are rested. They're going to be, fully fit, ready to go. But also you have to reward your coach for taking that, not gamble, but that risk. Like, hey, look, guys, I'm letting you rest right now. I'm doing you guys a favor. Now you got to return that favor. Okay. You got to put in a shift. You got to put in a performance, and we got to get that dub, because otherwise, why did I just rest you guys? Right? Why did I let some of you stay back and be with your families and hang out while we're going to Dallas, a tough place to play, hot, humid, muggy, and just a place where it's tough to get a good result, And so you have to reward the coach when he does something like that.
Yeah. And look, maybe it's time for Olivier Giroud. I have said in the last few games, we can't really use the Dallas game, but in these other games, I've seen not huge jumps, but little indicators that he's settling in. So maybe this is his game. He's a big time player. He's played in these big cup finals. So I'm excited about that. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, Beta. If they lose this game, it's going to be devastating. But if they win it, they are going to be favored to, and they have home field advantage, all of a sudden everything changes. I mean, this is everyone is feeling it. There is nervous energy, but but that's what you sign up for. Yeah. These cup finals. It could be great. We know how we felt in the League's Cup, or it could be devastating. But I think there's enough there to say, take care of business, lift that trophy, and then take care of business for the rest of the season.
I'm calling it now. During the actual game, the 90 minutes, if there's a winner, it's 100% LAFC. The only way I can see Kansas City pulling a crazy upset is in penalties. That's it. That's the only way.
I feel better, but from hearing that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Get that goal. They have Alan Polito, who scored a couple goals on their victory over Colorado on Wednesday. Willie Agada's a nice forward. Eric Tommy, who was interviewed, was actually coached by Steve Cherundolo at Stuttgart when Steve was an assistant at Stuttgart. So there's a connection there too.
Yeah.
Let's compartmentalize the Open Cup, and let's briefly talk about the stretch run, the LAFC stretch run, which we'll talk more about here in the weeks ahead. We already touched on it. So the Open Cup, you get that out of the way. Then you have Saturday, you're at Cincinnati. Another midweek. This is crazy. Another midweek, you're at home against St. Louis. Then the Saturday after, you're with Sporting Kansas City. The following week was supposed to be off, but you have a makeup game because of all your success.
Yes.
So you're at Vancouver, and then you wrap up at San Jose. 5 games. Most teams have 4. 2 at home, 3 away. You'd love to finish second here, but I think if you win those 2 home games at the very least, and then maybe get a point or 2 here, you'll finish in the top 4, which is home field advantage, and then take care of business afterwards. It'd be great to finish second, but you can't fall behind that 4-5 line. And I think if they win those home games, it'll be very hard to get them out of those top 4 spots.
Yeah. If I'm going into it as a coach, I have the mindset of top 4. That's it. It doesn't matter 2, 3, or 4. Get a top 4 spot. Get that first home playoff game. LAFC's had so much success on the road, and quite frankly, I think they're a little bit built for playing in that counter-attacking formation. We've seen it a lot where they have this mid-block to low block, and then their guys just take off in transition when they win the ball. Obviously, Kike Oliveira is a big part of that. So when he's back and healthy, he helps them in transition moments. Bouanga's just, like a train running down there, like unstoppable. So I'm not worried about them if they have to play a game on the road. Obviously at home, they have an incredible record as well. So it's not like we have to get top 2. No, top 4. Top 4, get 1 home playoff game. After that, go on the road, handle your business. No, not a big deal. But yeah, right now, Open Cup. That's priority number 1.
They finished 3rd in the West last year, and they made an MLS Cup. So I think top 4, just try your chances. And that takes a little pressure off. You'd like to finish second, but you take a little pressure off. And we'll see where it goes. The Cincinnati game, they might rest some players because of this game Wednesday. And you have another Wednesday game, which will be at home. But this is where Steve has to really navigate that. But I think he's done a nice job. And to your point, they have won 5 games away this season, which is a good total. It's above average for road records. And that tricky one at Houston, they got a point. Dallas, I think you have to kind of push that aside because of the massive rotation. But this is an LAFC team. It'd be crazy to think that you have 3 away games and you don't get anything out of them. It would go completely against what they have done to this point. So I'm all right. I feel all right. I think I've talked myself into feeling more confident, Beta.
Yeah, I think you did. No, they're all right. They're sitting in a good spot. And again, it's tough to get results on the road, but you're at 5, right? Roughly 17 is half of them. So if you divide that by 3, 6 wins, roughly 6 losses, 6 draws. If you can do that on the road, pretty good. They're at 5 right now for those wins. So
I like how you flash the fingers like you're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You're like Ric Flair over there.
I should put my MLS Cup trophy ring on for you, huh? And then flash the finger.
I got mine here. I'll bring it out in no time. But hopefully we'll be taking photos of the U.S. Open Cup, Beta. This is a good one. I think we got some good energy out there, and we'll take care of business on Wednesday, and we'll talk about it on our next podcast.
I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Me too. Let the good times roll. Beta, Steve Beitashour, joined again, co-hosting us, taking us through this very difficult stretch here with lots of games, but we're taking you through final and more finals, and the U.S. Open Cup is next when we return. LAFC assistant coach will join us. Ante Rozov will join us here on Inside LAFC podcast to get his U.S. Open Cup thoughts and memories. We'll be right back.
Inside LAFC podcast is presented by Freeway Insurance, driving savings.
Welcome back to Inside LAFC podcast. I am personally thrilled, and I'm sure everyone out there listening is also, that we're joined now by, I believe, the longest tenured on the field person for LAFC. Now, this is Ante Razov, of course, as you can see. Carlos Vela was signed the end of 2017. You were with LAFC January of 2018. Is that correct?
October 2017.
So you are. I mean, John Thorrington and you've been here the longest. That's got to be very special for you, Ante, to be here from the beginning. You've seen it grow, and now look, playing for trophies, winning trophies, becoming one of the top clubs in American history. Congratulations.
Thanks, Max. We try hard.
Well, we brought you on here because the U.S. Open Cup, very near and dear to you. You have won it 3 times?
Correct.
I was on the broadcast for 2 of those in 2000 and 2003. And that was the beginning of my broadcast career, so I got to see you lift that. So I remember them very fondly. But it's not about me, Ante. It's about you and the Open Cup. And this is a trophy that goes back. How important is it, that history? We talk about MLS, it's in diapers. It's less than 30 years old. But having a trophy like that as a young American soccer player, you can compete for.
I think, we have to talk about different times. When we competed, MLS was very young. This was still an old tournament, but it was also the second biggest tournament after our, MLS Cup. And so it became very important, the objective for us. The historical factors, okay, I don't know how much we thought about who won it before and this. It's a trophy that you, as a competitor, just want to win.
We heard from Aaron Long earlier in the week, and he mentioned that there was some teammates of him growing up. You have an LA background. You're at Fontana, correct? That's where you went to high school?
I did.
So UCLA. So you're an LA guy. And Aaron Long also a SoCal LA guy, and he talked about players that were on an amateur team that were able to participate. When did you first catch ear in your career of the Open Cup and realize that's something that you wanted to participate in and hopefully one day, which you did, win?
I think as soon as you turned pro, it was a competition, and you came up against some pretty obscure opposition. And back then, professionalism, semi-professionalism, amateurism, we saw it all from the ground up. Every level, and so you never knew what to really expect, especially if you had to play on the road. Fortunately, to my memory, we played more of the games at our facilities or it was at an MLS facility, but you would get some really, really interesting places.
Do you have a memory of one specific? Because just for the people that may not be familiar, the Open Cup invites all soccer clubs, from the MLS teams, the USL teams, to the amateur teams. I remember there was once a convenience store that put together a team, and they won a couple games. Some kids in Maryland. Do you remember a team that kind of was like off the grid a bit?
Yeah. I have a vague memory of playing in a park in some Chicago suburb. Maybe it was like a high school or something. I can't really recall. I just remember thinking like, I don't really know what's going on. And I don't know where the opponent was from, but we were not playing in Soldier Field or anywhere near downtown Chicago. We did have fans that turned up. It was a great supportive crowd back then with Chicago. And it was just kind of like different. It was different. Yeah. You still had to win the game. The opponents weren't professional, but you still had to kind of like do your job without, getting sideways on it.
It's a big game for you guys, but for this amateur team, this is their Super Bowl in many cases. And look, you were a decorated player early in your career. You were scoring goals for the national team. You're winning MLS Cups. How difficult is that to prepare, knowing that the guy across from you is just, this is my moment?
Well, and you didn't really have any video to watch of the opponent back then. So it was really just kind of on the fly. You just have to deal with it, and you have to put the game on your terms as quick as possible. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that guy had to go bartend later or 7-Eleven. I'm not sure, but it was the craziness of the cup.
Take us back to the first one. Obviously, 1998 was a unique year. You were under Bob Bradley with the Fire. You guys did the double. It was year one of the Chicago Fire. So, I mean, trophies are difficult to win, but in the first year in MLS for you, you won the two big ones. So MLS Cup would come later, but what about that opportunity for a new club like LAFC is now to lift that trophy? What was it like for within the team, within the powers that be, that said, hey, we can put ourselves on the map?
Well, the 1998, we played MLS Cup, won it, and 4 days later had to play the Open Cup. Pretty bizarre, crazy timing, trying to wrangle people back from LA at the Rose Bowl and to turn around and have to play another final at our place against Columbus. I imagine it was a challenge for Bob because I do recall Monday at training, there was training, or we had to be there. I don't think too much training went on, but there was people in there with champagne and the party was still going. So I think there was a few challenges on hand with trying to galvanize the group. But that's one of those moments where you're just, training didn't matter. By Tuesday, we kind of gathered ourselves and we knew what we had to do. And we understood that there was a historic moment to finish the objective, and we had just enough to get over the line.
The 98 one, remind me where that was. 2000 was in Fullerton and 03 was in Chicago at Soldier Field. Is that correct?
There was a Miami one as well.
Okay. Was that the 90? No, I'm in the 98 one.
98 was Columbus in Soldier Field.
Okay.
Miami was in Soldier Field.
Right.
2000, I believe. And then 2003 was New York Metro Stars in New York.
I'm thinking the Fullerton was a semifinal, which set the table.
Yeah, that was a whole nother chaotic show.
So a lot of it kind of dampened your MLS Cup celebration. You're supposed to be, hey, let's go, let's do the.
Yeah, but why not double up? Double the fun, By the end of the week, you have 2 trophies.
Do you think it took the pressure off? No, hey, we got the one trophy. Now we have this second one. We can just, let's just play our game. We could be who ourselves because we won one trophy, and now the pressure's on the opponent.
Not sure we even thought about that much. It was just, guys, get your shit together. We got a game on Thursday, a championship game at our house, and we need to go out and perform. So that was kind of the simple and straight to the point message. Wasn't you weren't thinking like, oh, we got one in the bag already. No. That second one, it would have been a real bummer to not win that one because it would take the luster off the MLS Cup for sure.
Beta co-hosts this with me, and he was mentioning, looking back at those, how important it is for winning trophies. And he thinks back, obviously, to the moments you win them. He thinks back to the moments where it slipped away. For you, do you take time to reflect and say, I've been a professional athlete, and here's the payoff. I can go 98, 2000, these moments that were very important that helped shape me.
Are you talking about the ones you win or didn't win, or
no, the ones you won? We'll stick with the ones you won.
Yeah, certainly. I was fortunate in that 6-year period. I believe we played in 6 finals, 3 Open Cups and 3 MLS Cups, and so we won 4 total. There were 2 big ones that got away, but there's also part of the journey of getting to a final. And it doesn't diminish wanting to win it, but there's only 2 teams that can get to a final, and the rest are at home on vacation, doing whatever they're doing. And so there is some pride to take it with it, but winning obviously is the ultimate feeling. Lifting it, knowing that you are, for a brief moment, you're on top, and then probably in a few weeks you got to go back to work.
Well, this is going to be an interesting one. We wish you the best of luck, but you have a game on Saturday. You have another game on the following Saturday. It's somewhat similar to the situation of the MLS Cup, but at least it was the end of the year. But you got it wedged in there. So the challenges of that, to just stay focused on the task at hand, how are you guys preparing?
That's something we've been accustomed to. I think this modern era where tournaments come before midway in the season, you played finals, and then have to turn around a couple days later and just continue to play games. You need a resilient group. I think we've shown that we are resilient. We pick ourselves back up regardless. We keep going, and we want to get to the next final and win these finals. So it's not a lack of a will or desire. Like we know what this means. We understand, and then we just have to reward ourselves. We reward ourselves. We'll deal with Thursday when it comes. We'll deal with Cincinnati on the weekend, but we're just going to go for it on Wednesday and hopefully celebrate.
Special stuff, Ante. Obviously, for an LA guy to be able to do it in Los Angeles would be very special. Best of luck, and I appreciate. I want to talk about you and your incredible career on another podcast. I'm sure you have plenty of time to join us when that happens.
Right on.
That's more like it. All right, Ante Rozov, LAFC assistant coach from the beginning, getting ready for the big game on Wednesday, a U.S. Open Cup that he's had experience in the past, as he is documented here on Inside LAFC podcast. That's all the time we have for this week. We'll be back again next time to recap everything from Wednesday and the stretch run for the Black and Gold. On behalf of Ante and Beta and, of course, me, Max, we'll see you next time on Inside LAFC podcast.